Hey guys, MJK here to talk about the upcoming awakening for 6-star Firion. I'm really excited about this, as I know some other people are as well, because a lot of people know that when he gets 6 stars, Firion becomes a very potent character, and he becomes even more amazing when he gets his enhancements, but we're not going to get that for a couple months at least. So we're going to talk about just the vanilla 6-star Firion and see how good he is. So let's get right to it. All right, so Firion was already kind of like a decent character at 5 stars for a while. And he started to get overshadowed, obviously, but at 5 stars, he had decent attacks like Blade Blitz, and he had a lot of killer abilities. But at 6 stars, he's going to get even more of those killer type abilities, passives, I should say, and he's going to get a decent single target attack for himself. So let's look at his stats. His HP is pretty decent, probably like 100 lower than some of the base 5-star attackers that we have, but still pretty good. His attack is 132, which is actually not that impressive, but I guess if he had really high attack as well as all the passives, it might be broken. So this kind of makes sense. I think average for a lot of the 5-star bases are in the 140s. Some even go up to 150. So this is just kind of like average, I guess. He's able to equip literally every weapon in the game, which is one of his strengths as well. Now, we won't go over what he had before. It's all these killer abilities and Blade Blitz, AoE. But what's of note is that he's getting all these kind of extra level killer abilities, like the Killer Plus type of things. So all the things that he had before, he's now getting an extra 75% on top of that. And then the other part that makes him a little bit more complicated, and we'll talk about it in just a little bit, is it depends on what kind of gear he's wearing, as far as what his attack increase is going to be. So depending on what TMs you have farmed up, what equipment you have, the best equipment for him will vary based on what you have. So his single target ability now is going to be called Finbriar. It's a 1.8 with 25% defense ignore. Not that amazing. It works out to about a 2.4 multiplier. So there are some people who advocate putting barrage on him, which is fine. I'm gonna have to look at the attack animation for this. It's probably gonna be a little bit easier to time and chain, but like as a chain ender. But I think barrage would work well for him because 3.2 is significantly better than 2.4. In the future, when this is enhanced, this is going to go all the way up to 2.3 with a 50% defense ignore. So that's going to be a 4.6. So it's going to go from a 2.4 to a 4.6 in the future. And then he has Legend Killer. Again, he increases his passives here. He does have one magic spell, Regen, which is kind of random. You're never going to probably use that. And then his Limit Burst is very vanilla, just straight up physical damage. Now, you are never going to want to increase his magic. He has no magic spells. The only time he even remotely uses magic is his hybrid ability, Dream Blade. But you're not going to want to build just for that. This is kind of ridiculous. I guess they just had to throw something in there because he technically does equip all the weapons, but you never want to put these on. So the decision comes down to whether you want to put, this category here, basically the ranged weapons versus, the more melee stuff, close range stuff, and then the swords. Again, it's going to depend on what you own, but in my opinion, you'd probably want to put on, kind of like an ideal build. You'd want to put on a Sakura Fubuki because this would couple also with his with Blade Mastery. So if you put Sakura Fubuki and Blade Mastery, you're getting a lot of attack there, like the 50% attack boost from Blade Mastery. And then you'd also probably want to go with a fist weapon here. You'd want to get Zhao's TM. For some reason, I'm blanking on what that's called. Kaiser Knuckles. You'd want to put Zhao's Kaiser Knuckles on him, and then also equip like a champion's belt or something that would boost his attack with the when he's equipping a fist. So that way you're getting the maximum amount of attack passives, and you're gonna have a really good attack stat. So really quick, I'm gonna compare his killer passives with somebody who's kind of similar, I guess. I'm gonna compare with Randi. So Randy has a 125% boost to undead enemies, and Firion has 0. But in the future, Firion is going to get 100% to undead and to human enemies. When he gets it in his enhancements, he's going to pretty much have like all of his bases covered except for fairy or spirit enemies. So Randy does have a 125% boost to fairies, and Firion has 0 even in the future. Now, everything else, Firion has 125% boost to those types of enemies. 125% to plants, beasts, bugs, birds, dragons, and demons, which is insane. So right now, the only 3 that he doesn't have covered are undead, human, and fairies. And the human part you can get with espers, and we're going to have a man-eater materia coming out soon. And then in the future, he's going to get the man-eater and undead passives anyway through his enhancements. Randy, by comparison, has 125% to undead, to beasts, dragons, and fairies. So Firion actually has a much wider coverage of killer passives. So in that regard, I think Firion wins out. Plus his Finbriar is a 2.4, Randy has a 2.15. I know that Randy's does lower defense, and then the second attack ends up being like a 3.3. But that's kind of assuming that you don't already have somebody on your team that can debuff. Like if you have like a Noctis or somebody else debuffing the defense, that Randy's debuff is not going to really play into the calculation. It's still going to be a 2.15. He will do more damage, obviously, when the enemy's debuffed, but compared to Firion, I mean, Firion would do just as much, or he would do more damage as well. So, yeah, that's my quick overview of Firion. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, he does have gaps in his killer passives, and when he's attacking enemies like undead, human, and fairy, his attack's not going to be anything special at all. But every other enemy type is going to be really massive damage. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to raise him up immediately, and I think you should too. And yeah, I'm going to test him out. I'll make another video. When he gets his future enhancements, I mean, he just has no weaknesses whatsoever except against fairy enemies, and nobody really cares. So anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.